All right, everyone. Welcome to the Real Joy Project. If you're new here, welcome. If you're coming back, we are so glad to have you with us again. I'm Nikki Johnsrud, and my co-host today is JennyLee O'Brien, and we have a special attendee with us here. It's Cassie Haak. She is someone that I've known since she was a little girl. She's one of my sister's best friends, so I could tell you lots of things about her, but I won't go into that today. We actually specifically asked her to come today because she is a female entrepreneur, but she also is a nurse by training, and she went on to school to become a nurse practitioner. And now her world has blown up because everybody wants to know a little bit about what she knows. So I'm going to ask Miss Cassie to tell us a little bit about how you decided to go into nursing and how did you get where you are right now?
Yeah. So my passion for nursing actually came when I was a kid and I used to read Lurleen McDaniel books. And I don't know if anybody remembers those books, but they were always about some kid that was going through cancer. And actually at that particular time, a close family member, or not family member, a close friend actually was battling leukemia. And it hit that that's where I needed to be. And so since that, here I am. But I will say it wasn't an easy pattern, like, because people in my life, I feel like, have told me, like, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, you don't have enough money to do this. And so I will be the first to say, like, actually, my high school counselor told me that I couldn't even afford to go to a 4-year school. And so so my whole life, I feel like I've invested in telling people, watch me. I will
Mm.
show you that I can do this. And I knew that I wanted to be a nurse, but when you go to school, then you want to be a physical therapist, then you want to be an occupational therapist. But I always knew I wanted to be something in the medical world. And so I had way too much fun when I went to college. I will be the first to say, but I would repeat those days over and over and over again. Taught me so many life lessons. So I started at UND and then ended up transferring to Med Center One College in nursing, where I finished out my bachelor's. And then I worked for a few years and I actually followed my passion and worked in oncology, actually. And I can't say that there was anything wrong with it. I loved it. But I always knew that there was something more. It wasn't where I didn't want a bedside nurse forever. The hours suck. And I knew eventually I wanted to have a family. And so I knew that the end goal for me was to be a nurse practitioner. I had great mentors in my life. Bonnie Johnson was one of my dear mentors throughout most of my nursing career, actually. And she was always a big push to go on and go further. So I knew I wanted to do it before I got married, and I knew I wanted to do it before I had kids. So I went back to school and I graduated, took my boards, got married, and bought a house in a month. So then that led me,
That's a
um,
lot.
so that
It
was
is
a
a lot.
lot. But I guess it just shows, like, if you put your mind to it, like, you can conquer a lot. So I did that, and I actually worked with a colorectal surgeon. That was my first job, as a nurse practitioner, which was scary because you don't learn anything about nurse or about surgery really, and being in the operating room and actually being an assistant. But I felt like as a nurse practitioner, it taught me so much more about anatomy and physiology. I had worked on cadavers when I was in school, nursing school. So we had done some with actually the human body and like an actual one, but to actually now be like live, like actually in the abdomen, working with the intestines and doing all the things just taught me so much more about the anatomy, and really like taking care of patients. But then we decided to move home. So I did what I was going to do and never move home, or I should say, I did what I said I was never going to do and move back. And there I started with a family practice, a small private family practice, which I was working with my mentor at that time. And life happens, and I ended up leaving and going back to a more traditional corporate medicine where I stayed for quite some time and actually developed their family medicine clinic here in Watford City. But life becomes really stagnant, and I guess for me, my turning point was two things. Was COVID, because I felt like after COVID, insurance really began to deem how we could practice. Really, we had to make check marks really on clients' charts if they didn't fit it, if we weren't prescribing this medication, if we weren't doing this. We would really get dinged. And so I think that really was the one of the changing methods for me. But the ultimate one, and I think the one that really promoted my jump to become my own practice owner, which again was something I said I was never going to do, was when the GLPs came out. And I still can't wrap my head around why, if we have something that is going to help people lose weight and prevent chronic conditions, why we aren't making this accessible. And so that's really what made me really do the jump. So it's actually coming up now 2 years ago, and I have been in practice, and it's been a wild ride, to say
Yeah.
the least. To say the least.
Well,
So you,
okay. Oh, go ahead, Jenny.
no, you go ahead, Nikki.
Okay, I'm going to take us back to the beginning of what you just shared. Being a young girl in a rural area, and when we grew up, which you were younger than I am, and not quite 10 years, but it was there wasn't a lot left here in Western North Dakota for us. And so, and I look back at so many people that were told they couldn't do this, and I'm sure that happened throughout time, right? We know that especially with women, as we get told that no, you can't do that, or it just breaks my heart when you said that they said you don't even have enough money for, to go 4 years. And how many people just took that and ran with it, right? And so it shows so much of your character and your determinedness to say, no, this is something I want. I don't know how I'm going to get there right now, or how I'm going to figure it out, but I'm going to figure it out. So I think that's number one. And because you know what, you just never know who's going to see this episode, that it could be some young girl that's out there, or even a boy, whatever it is, whoever they are, but they have that, because I kind of had that same story of like, I was told in the first grade that I could not read and that I was stupid by a teacher. And it wrecked me for so many years. I thought that I didn't know what I either was gonna turn into, but I knew that I wanted to do something, or I knew that there was something more. Because you said that. I felt like there was something more for me. And thank God for the people that foster, like Vonnie. I mean, if I think back to any time going to the hospital in Watford City, I mean, I think Vonnie was there 24/7. I mean, and one of her daughters is one of my best friends. I don't even know how they kept, how she wasn't there, because it seemed every time you went, there was these handful of nurses that were there. And so thank God for people like her that believed in you, and they mentored you and encouraged you to go on. And then, for you to say that I wasn't sure when you went into some of those different areas, and then you said, well, it was great for a while, but I wanted to learn more. And I think sometimes we can get stuck, right? We get stuck in those spaces of like, well, this is good. It's a good job. I'm working for someone that's good. I'm getting good pay. I can pay my bills, all those things. But that sensation of feeling I'm supposed to do more. And so many times we push it to the bot. We just ignore it. We don't listen to our body. We don't listen to our heart to tell us you're being called to do something else. And so that too takes a lot of strength and courage, because, as you said, you had people all along the way that said, you're not smart enough, or you're not going to make it. That isn't meant for you. And thank God you didn't listen. And we could do something, read between the lines to those people out there that said that to you, because look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
you shine now, right? So, I mean, and I will say, even for myself, you were my primary. It was so exciting to see you come back and, um, you know, have you as my primary. And I was super sad to see you go, but also understanding that some people are meant for greater things. And I think that where you are now. JennyLee and I have talked about our hormone imbalance, and we both ended up going to Megan, which has been on a previous episode. I wanted to come to you, and you were the one that said to me, I haven't learned that yet. I want to delve into that. I want to help women with that. But I'm not ready yet. And that takes a lot of courage too, to say, I'm not quite there yet. I want to help you, but there's other people out there right now that can help you. Come back to me. And because not everybody would do that either. So, I mean, I think there's so many different pieces of your story that resonate with me. And fearlessness is definitely, you should have it on your forehead. But, and I know you do not
Mhm.
like to be in the limelight, but I mean,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of determination to be where you are. Yeah. I don't know if you have, yeah, go ahead. Anybody have anything, Jenny Lee?
I no, I agree with that. And just like the fact, I think all three of us are a little bit like that in the sense of you can't tell me I can't do something. I'm gonna just prove you wrong, you know. But it does take a lot of guts to do that. And I know, in a smaller town, your guys' town has grown, but coming back to your hometown, I think some of your biggest critiques are the people that you've known your whole life. And in order to keep moving past that and say, I'm gonna do what I want to do, what I know that I can help. And that's the other thing, you're serving so many people and helping people in an area that is hard to find. I mean, especially in North Dakota, I think we are just breaking through, getting to know more about our hormones and the GLP-1s and just any naturopathic, as they might call it, But I love you do a lot of combination, don't you, of like using your past and traditional medication along with that, the more natural path side. You do a lot of combination of the two of those.
Yeah, I do. So okay, my clinic has really evolved. Like I started off and I was only going to do weight loss and IVs, right? That's how my clinic started. But then I became perimenopausal myself. So that was like a big, like, holy crap, I can't go. If I'm going through this, like how many other women are going through this too? Like this is no quality of life. And then, I think so many of my patients had honestly like just they missed me as a provider, I guess, and they were like lost. And so we have honestly just transformed into kind of whatever, like still what makes me happy and what brings us joy here. But I think it's also like what people need. So we run, I guess you call it an integrative functional medicine clinic is what we kind of run here. So we really do everything and everything, or everything and everything. That's not the words I wanted to say, but we typically do we do really a lot. I actually just recently added on two pharmacists, so they both have functional medicine backgrounds, and so we do a lot of lifestyle coaching. We do a lot of gut health. We're kind of like I call it sci-fi medicine in a way because we do a lot of frequency healing. We just got a med bed that is all frequency based and can do all kinds of different things, but we just are like on like the verge of like sci-fi medicine really. So I mean, I do still some primary care. I still write a few scripts, but if it's like antibiotics, usually it's not a no-go. It's mainly how can we support your immune system, and the other thing is like how can we optimize your health? That's my biggest thing is health optimization. Like yes, you guys both talked about being on hormones, and the same goes for men. Like as we age, we naturally decline in those hormones, but how can we optimize it so when we're living longer, how can we still have an amazing quality of life and we can still have the energy and the strength and all those kind of things to continue to do our daily livings and be independent. I think that's the biggest thing is be independent living in our own homes. I always joke that when I'm 100 years old, like I still want to be running or I still want to be able to get off the toilet by myself because if I can do that, I can probably live at home by myself.
Yeah. I was just going to say, so when you talked about that, I think we've talked about this with other people. I know Jenny Lee and I have, is that when somebody has it, the it factor, people find you. And that's what you have. What I mean by that is it's not okay just going and getting a script. It's that people they want that connection. They want the genuine I am concerned for you. I want if you are not feeling well, if you are wanting a better way of life or a better type of life, then I am here for you. And so I think that's the cool thing is that yes, you just like any other you know, any other business owner are out there telling about what you do, but I think that there are not enough people that know what you do. And I think but there are once people started to hear what you were doing, because like you mentioned it just a smidgen of saying it went
Yeah.
so, because you started with, okay, so I think back and I'll just say, and then you can tell me what you know the story more than I do, but I went to see her when she transitioned and she had one room when she first started. And then she went to three rooms. And then she's like, oh, geez, and then it was like, where can I find another space? I'm going to need more space for that. Then she found a space, but then you went to more locations, correct? I mean, it's definitely,
So I think that honestly, when you're supposed to be doing something,
Mhm.
God or the divine or whatever you believe in, like it makes it happen so easily. And that's really what happened. Yes, I went from business in town that was room rental, and I had my two IV chairs in there, and that's where I started, to then expanding to get two rooms from there. And then I was like, okay, well, what do you do? And everything honestly just has fallen in place. Like I tell people, like, I don't know anything about business. I just have a dream. And the business is just happening, like realistically. Thank gosh, God has put a lot of amazing people in my business to make that part run. But I feel like when you have a dream and you just capitalize on that dream, and it's supposed to happen, it
Mhm.
truthfully, that's what have happened. Yes. So I went from a one bed or one room that I rented out. Then I went to two rooms because I was getting busy as a provider that I didn't have time to do IVs. Then we ended up buying a building and buying another business and transforming that building. And then we opened up two other locations. But it wasn't like, I don't know. It just, I always look back, like it was a fog. Like that year was a complete fog because it all happened so fast. But it's not like I went out like digging and searching and like it just truly happened. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's when I know like I am doing what I am supposed to be doing. Because if it was, I was having, I mean, I remember listening to some classes on like running nurse practitioner owned and operated clinics, and they were talking about how they would sit outside looking at the tumbleweeds roll by. And I was like, oh my gosh, like there's going to be days I'm not going to see anybody. Like in my head, I'm like, this is going to be horrible. And it's not. And I will honestly say, I went full time. I quit my traditional setting job April 1st, where I actually quit April 1st and opened my new clinic April 1st full time. And I never seen any tumbleweeds. So
Yeah.
which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it has happened so easily. And I think that that's how you know that you're doing God's work, is when it really does. And it's like, whoa, um, yes, we've had growing pains, and I've learned from falling down, and I've had to stand back up, and all of that kind of thing. But it was always like, I don't know. I wish I could explain it, but it's just always been like a sense of peace and a sense of like one step forward, in a sense like you're doing the right thing. There's never been a thought in my head like you're going to fail or this is not going to work out. And
Mhm.
is it because it blew up? Is it because maybe my clients just feel like we have that connection in my community? I don't know. Or maybe it's God's plan. This was what his plan was all along. I mean, I have no idea, but I guess when you know that you're following your passion and it has become so easy, and every day brings you so much joy, then like I think that you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you were listening to those nudges. You were listening to that. So let me ask you, what was the scariest part of moving out of getting that paycheck where you just showed up and clocked in and walked away versus becoming your own boss, becoming an entrepreneur? Did you have any scary thoughts going into that?
I mean, of course, like you don't know, like I'm probably the worst business owner, to be honest, because I mean, I put all my money back into my business to grow it. And fortunately, we were able to live off my husband's income and all those things. So I have continued to like just invest in my business, that we've been able to make it a success. But I mean, I think that is always scary, because there is times where just running a business in general can be overwhelming or stressed, or even learning. I think learning to run a business. I mean, I've had different mentors in business, and I was like, I don't even know how to create a budget for a business, because you're always like, things
Mhm.
are always changing. Your supply demand is always changing. Like, how do you even create a budget? And it like is overwhelming, especially when you're working in your business too. I think if it was just, I was solely doing the business side and not actually working in my business, it may be a little bit different. But I think, yeah, I mean, it always is scary, like your insurance or like all your retirement,
Mhm. Yep.
having that steady income all the time, those kind of things. But for me, it's been the financial freedom, because I have not missed one thing on my kids is.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say, let's talk about the, yeah, let's
And
talk
that makes
about,
me
oh,
cry.
yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
that's
gonna
the flip
say,
side of that. Yes.
yeah, yeah. I think that you hit the nail on the head. That's part of my story too. When I got to that point where I had put everybody else in front, right, for my job and those different things. And when I finally realized that I had to let go of control, how much happier and stress-free my job or my life became, right? It doesn't mean that there still aren't stressors, right, or things like that, but I think that us good Midwestern or Western North Dakota women, and I think that goes other places too, but that we feel this strong urge to always work, 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 and to put ourselves last, and our families usually end up taking last. And I will say that that's something I have seen. Um, your dedication to your marriage and your family has been not that I probably even noticed before, but just noticing it in you now. And it's okay that it makes you cry because it means that, that you are, if that was part of the reason that you got out is so that you could have that. I loved when you said financial freedom. So, like you said, hey, it is a blessing that your husband is able to provide for that. Doesn't mean that you still don't need something else, right? But also that freedom of family to put them first and put your, because if you had to give yourself even a grade as to what your family life looked like when you were working, X amount of hours for corporate, if you want to call it that, and what it looks like now, what would you give yourself a grade before and what would you give the grade now?
I mean, definitely, maybe not an F, but what I used to do is, you get X amount of time off. And so I would not take any days off a whole year. And then I take off the month of June because that was our busiest month as far as 4-H and fair and all those kind of things. So I would save up. And then
Mhm.
when we used to have cattle, like that was when we were fencing and branding and doing all those kind of things. So I would save up so that I could take that month off because we were also haying during that time. So I could take that time off so I would be able to have that month where I could go work and do other things. Where now it's like, I don't know. I don't know how to really describe it because now it's like, yes, I mean, I maybe don't see a client during that hour, but I get to go see my kids at their program. Or if they're sick, guess what? I'm going to stay home with them,
Mhm.
and have that time that because before I know it, they'll be gone. And so definitely probably like a probably enough. Let's be, where
Well,
I feel like I'm not 100% now, but my kids have definitely, and I have a nurse who's very entrepreneurial, very business driven, and I've had to be like really honest with her and be like, I went into this business. Yes, I want to make money. We all have bills to pay. Like I want to support all you guys, but at the end of the day, my kids is what matters to me.
mhm.
I love it. I love that so much. Me and Nikki are over here like
Yeah.
nodding our heads, like, yes,
And I've
yes.
told you that time and time again. I'm so proud of you for you to, because it's not easy to make the shift. Some of the people closest to us can be the ones that take us down,
Mhm.
because they sometimes, I will even speak for myself in previous experiences that it was that I wasn't mad at the person. I was mad that they had the audacity to say they were going to go out and change, right? That they said that they were not going to work 80 hours a week or whatever have you. It's that that's when it was worth it and the shift. Because this is what JennyLee and I have talked about too, is that I don't necessarily want to be bigger. Like you said, hey, all those things happened and sometimes that happens. That's the way it was supposed to be. But here's the biggest thing that I take from that is that it happened, but you didn't lose sight of why you left in the first place, why you made the shift and pivoted. So that's where you're saying, yeah, this is all great. I want this to be great because we've said bigger is not necessarily better. For us, I also want to be content. I want to enjoy. So when you just talked about that you would save up, because I remember those days. Now I didn't even think about it until you just brought that up. And yes, I think about all the times that I got to see you in June, right? Um, But that was how Justin and I would, that's how we would spend our time. I would give my time to everybody else throughout the school year. And then I'd have those, 6 weeks off in the summer and I jam everything in. And no wonder it was like my kids had been starved from me the whole year. No wonder they were acting up and different things like that because I was unavailable, like the sucking. There was nothing, there was nobody there. I mean,
Yeah.
I was there, but I wasn't there. And so I wasn't asking you to tell yourself that you sucked. It's just that how much more joy do you feel and happiness being with your family? And that I think that's the other thing is when people see that it's possible, there's the ones that are going to support and say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's the ones that are going to be out there like, go ahead, try and do it again, right? Or how long can you keep this up? And that's the other thing I was going to say about your business is that what we put out, the energy that we put out, it attracts back to us and it attracts like-minded people. That's what I was getting about earlier about, people, businesses put out there and we want to market ourselves. I mean, we know we have to have people, right, other than tumbleweeds coming in the door. And
Yes.
right? But at the same time, I think that yours, because it comes top down, how many times it starts from the top. So if you are setting that example, right, then you're telling your employees, I want you to have a balanced life. I want, when you're here at work, I expect you to work. I want you to work hard. And then when we're done, I want you to go live. Go live. And so that's a whole new concept for a lot of people because it's always been work, 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 work. And so and people that don't know how to do that, formerly myself, right? It was like, no, no, no. I mean, and I think also we're often afraid. We're afraid, what if I do not succeed? What if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? But what you talked about, there is that divine intervention. Once we finally let go of the control, and I know that this is the path that I'm supposed to be on, and the doors open, the things just start to click. I was going to say your clients or patients or whatever you want to call them. I mean, it's word of mouth. I mean, we recently just had the girlfriend getaway, and how many of your, I mean, again, not naming, but clients that knew you from multiple locations came and they already had, they had been to you before, or um, just, I love the idea of melding people want to feel comfortable with their provider. And so I think that that's what you're also providing is allowing them to not just say it has to fit if you're a square peg going into a round hole. Well, this is all I got for you. I mean, I just think about all the different things that I've seen, and I'm not even in your space a lot. I'm just saying all the different options and opportunities for your people. You're trying to find the things that are going to help them. And numerous people I've heard, have said, I took my kiddo here, and maybe even, people that are nonverbal coming to your space and finding tremendous relief and thinking that they were never going to find what they need, or families, or people that feel like they just didn't fit in or that they didn't feel good, but they didn't find a provider that would listen to them for their needs and wants. And so what a beautiful journey. I'm sure there were a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, and I know you're not done yet, but I think that what I get from your story is that don't give up, right? That if you know it and you really have to listen to yourself, and that's being brave too, listening to what you want and that you can shift it and you still can be successful. But success is not in anyone else's eyes. It's whether or not it's a success to you. So if that's what you wanted is to be able to spend more time with your family and still be able to provide, alternative and client-minded services, then I'd say you get an A plus, girl. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I hear the words peace. Like you said, everything has felt at peace as you've been going along, because you're just listening and you're not pushing outside. Obviously you're growing and you're pushing and growing, but you are not like pushing beyond those boundaries. You're pausing and listening to the universe and God and whoever's telling you. I love that so much. And I love that, the word listen keeps coming into my mind because you said you listen to the universe and you're listening to what should I be doing. But I think, and I've never been to your practice. I met you at the Girlfriend Getaway, and had an IV there and stuff. But I've never been to your practice. But my guess is that you listen to people. So not only are you listening to what the world is telling you, but you're listening to them. And that's why people are coming back to you, because you listen and you're not in that space now where you're forced to be like, well, I have to put out so many prescriptions today or this or that, that you get to actually listen and treat their symptoms and what's really happening in their lives and give them that quality of life. And isn't that what we all want? Is both of those, somebody to listen to us and quality of life?
Yeah. I just think about when you said, you started to feel some of the perimenopausal, symptoms, and then thinking, oh crap, like if this is the quality of life. And we were talking right before we started or taping today that that's how JennyLee and I kind of got into this, as we were both looking up our symptoms online and like, what should we do and where should we go? And we stumbled on Dr. Mary Claire. And, that's exactly what she said. She's like, I was just your typical OBGYN. She's like, I would say, well, this is what they taught us in school, and you only get like a week, if that, in, school to tell you how to help women with with menopause, not even perimenopause, right? And so I think that's the other thing is when you find someone that has gone through it or is going through it, there's a sense of camaraderie. And what I heard in your voice was almost that sense of urgency. Like, if this is, I want to do better, I want better for myself, but I also want to do better for my clients, right? And so I think and I know that there's women coming to you because I've heard their personal stories of saying, oh yeah, I go to her. And I think the other thing is there is so much shame out there. There's so much shame. Like, I know Dr. Mary Claire talks about it too, like even with the GLP-1s and doing microdosing. And, it doesn't matter what it is, you're going to find somebody that's for it or against it, right? And things like that. But I think the thing that I take away from that is, especially with you starting your practice expanding, is that you're not saying one size fits all, right? You're trying to say, okay, I'm going to listen to what your symptoms are. I'm going to listen to what it is doing to your style of life or how you're feeling, and let's go from there. Because I mean, I just think about all the different options that you have. You said you just have the new frequency, you have the beta or I said it wrong.
Theta chain. The
Thank you.
theta chain.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just like, looks like this cool thing from outer space, and it spins you around and all. I mean, and that's just like even just two things that they have in there. I mean, all the different things plus the IV. And I mean, we could go into NADs for, especially, I mean, for men too, but women, the things I started on that probably about a year ago, and that has been transformative in my body. So I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about like some of the stuff that you have started to bring in for women going through perimenopause, menopause, after, or even,
Oh, for sure.
post-pregnancy.
I mean, I can just kind of tell you my like what I believe in, I guess, and like the motto I kind of practice by is I believe that you've said it, like nobody is the same, and we practice personalized care. And what my value may say for one person and they may feel fine does not mean that the next person is going to feel fine. And so, but I also believe that it is a whole thing. So when I meet with clients or when my pharmacists meet with clients, I mean, we're talking about how are you sleeping? We're talking about that stress and the cortisol in your adrenals. We're talking about your diet. We're talking about your gut health. I mean, because as a nurse, I was always taught that we treat holistically. We deal with the mind, body, the soul, the spirit, everything. Not only the physical ailments, but I felt like I got away from that as I went into a traditional setting. And so now bringing that scope back into, and I'm sure there's a nursing, whatever theology that there's a part of that I'd have to go back into my initial class of my master's to go over. But I think like treating that whole person as an individual, and the big thing is listening, because sometimes that's all people need is an ear to listen to, and they walk out of here or they just feel better when they're heard. But yes, so we kind of really do it all. I do microdosing of GLPs because I've seen so many benefits in inflammation, and I see so many benefits, I mean, just throughout the entire body in low dosing. We use it for anxiety. We use it for chronic pain. We use it for, of course, for weight loss and low. I even use it for low dosing, low doses in weight loss as well, because I believe that a lot of it is lifestyle. And if we can work with you and use it as a tool to help you be successful in weight loss while we're making those lifestyle changes and give you the strength up here and give you one piece of the puzzle that you don't have to worry about, and we can take that away with the GLP so we can focus on those lifestyle modifications, we're going to have success afterwards, not just while you're on the GLP. Hormones, I mean, it all kind of ties together because most of the time, like if you are overweight or you're struggling or you're perimenopausal, you're probably having some weight gain that you're like, where did this show up? Just overnight, I have this abdominal obesity that I didn't have before, or why all of a sudden am I just dragging butt and I have no energy, or I'm struggling with an erection and this is something new, or I have no libido, or whatever the situation may be. I mean, kind of they happen overnight, especially as you get into andropause and menopausal symptoms. It's like, I don't know who this girl is, or I don't know who this man is, but that's not who I went to bed like. So I think it's honestly meeting people where they're at and working, not only using, what we have available, whether it's hormone supplementation, whether it is GLPs, whether it's NAD, whether, who knows, whatever it may be that we're using, but I think also meeting their at lifestyle so that we can make some changes there to ultimately guide them into, again, like my ultimate goal is longevity in life and having that quality of life. Um, yeah, I don't know what did I
No,
answer your
that was,
question?
And
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. And like Nikki brought up, like when people feel shameful to like talk about hormones or these other things, and why every single woman is going to go through these stages. Like, why has we as a society made that shameful? Like we can talk about other things that maybe only affect 10% of the population easily, but
Mhm.
it's so crazy. I feel so incredibly blessed to be in this time and in like both your community, and then I've been doctoring with doing hormones and stuff with Megan out of Urban Unwind, who just spoke with us. And I'm just so grateful to be in a time where we can talk about it and we can share it with others. And I think the more we talk about it, the more it's not shameful. The more that other women are like, oh, me too. They're not in there hiding behind themselves and like, what is wrong with me? Like, because I think we all feel that when we're going through that. What is, like you said, you wake up one day just, who is this? Like, who's this mind body inside of my
Well, and
skin?
there's so much, and I think, I mean, I know it happens to men. I won't go into that, but it happens to men too.
Yes.
As they get
Yes.
older, they have things that decrease. But I think the other thing is that there's so much shame because I mean, I think there's three women on this screen right now that are very determined. And so for those of us in different parts of our lives, when we've thrown everything at it that we know to do, right? We work out, we change our lifestyle. I'm just giving that as example, like change going back to a healthier diet, things like that. And because that's what happened to me. I was like, I am walking every day and I'm doing, I'm going to classes for this amount and I'm going to yoga, I'm meditating every day. And I was like, and I am sure I probably have a drink every once in a while, and I probably still have a cheeseburger from McDonald's every once in a while, but I actually also want to live a little bit, we know life is short, so I want to have a little bit of that, but also that I remember I just did not feel like myself. And I remember going to Megan and saying, I know that some of this very well is probably from the stress of losing our child. But this was, 2.5, 3 years later. And I'm like, I am still, nothing has budged, and then I felt shameful. Like, what have I done to my body that it will not listen to me? It will not respond. So then we start down this whole, self-loathing. And then that just even puts us in a whole nother, like, I'm supposed to know better. So when you were just talking about as a psychologist, I would always talk about, it's the combination, the cognitive and then the behavioral. And then sometimes we need the medical, and all three. You can't just take medicine and think that it's going to get better if we don't change the behavior or the way that we're thinking about it, right? So all of those things have to be together. But then I was here sitting sitting by myself, angry at myself or sad that I couldn't get those things to budge. So then almost felt a little shameful to say, I think I need some medical help, right? Like I need some peptides, I need some hormones, I need different things like that. And to admit to people that I was taking a microdose of a GLP-1 because I think that was like, that's only for those type of people that need that. And I was like, you know what? I am okay with telling people that now because I know there's somebody else out there that feels like me. I'll give an example of like, I haven't changed any clothes, in the year that I've been on it, but I can tell you 30 pounds different. I'm still wearing the same size, but I'm like, what did I look like in this size? But I was wearing that size 30 pounds earlier. And now, but then I reminded myself, we're not going to give any shade to that because I didn't know
Yeah.
any different. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what I needed to do about it. And thank God there are people like you and Megan, and that's what we're trying to do with our podcast is like trying to just get that information out there. If you're not in Western North Dakota, well, we will talk to you or Megan or somebody. It's always like, who do you know in other places that we could connect them with? Because I think especially as women, we are what, if I were saying that to you, if you just said what I said, I would say to Cassie or to you, JennyLee, like, oh my gosh, do not be hard on yourselves about that, right? But then we are our own worst enemy. We just attack ourselves and go in for the kill. And I'm like, why do we do that? Why do we do
Mhm.
that? It's not
Well,
like I dropped 30 pounds in a month, right? I mean, I've been working my off trying to do all the other things. It's not like you just, have this magic spoonful of something, magical beans that make and I think that that's why you're finding so much um, there's no tumbleweeds yet again. That's going to be your
yeah.
slogan, girl. There's no tumbleweeds because people are
Yeah.
coming because it's the word of mouth. I think that's the biggest thing for you. Yes, you're still out there advertising, but you don't advertise like, big billboards or whatever. It's word of mouth that people are like, hey, you look good, like in your sense of yourself. Well, hey, I've been going to Cassie. I mean, I just recently talked to somebody that they're like, I lost 30 pounds. I started doing this. I got some injections or whatever, but then also that whole thing came together, the whole mind, body. And I mean, I can just see it in their aura and also
Mhm.
where they are in their soul. They're just like, I actually finally feel like me. And it's someone that's older than I am, significantly older than I am. And they're just like, I thought that as I got older, I was supposed to just, kind of fade into the background. And they're like, why does that have to be? Right. And so I think that's giving hope to other people, not just women, but everybody who is out there that's suffering. You saying that I'm going to listen to all of the things and we're going to try to tackle it. It's not just a one and done. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like going back to like the stigma associated with it and how Jenny Lee kind of said like I'm glad I'm in this. Well, I mean back in the day women didn't live past 50 years old, so it wasn't a big deal. Like you had babies, that was your role. You went to the old grandma tent, you got what was left of scraps, and eventually you died. But we're not there anymore. I mean, we're
Yeah.
outliving men now,
Yeah.
and women are in the nursing. I mean, more women are in the nursing home than men. So I think like we have so many things going for us. The black label finally freaking came off.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
And
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
yeah, hallelujah. And like, yes, women are talking about it and we're realizing like if we want to stay out of that nursing home, we have to have hormones that are going to protect this brain to help prevent against dementia. Like we have to keep our bones healthy because if we don't, I mean, like nothing to the women. My heart goes out to the women that have been affected by the Women's Health Initiative study because they really have been neglected, like
Yes.
medically neglected of
Yeah.
what we have had and have
Available.
available because of that damn study.
Yeah.
So now I'm a little fired up, um,
No.
but I think like we do know that like women on hormones have a decreased risk of dementia. We know that they prevent sarcopenia or muscle wasting and osteoporosis and osteopenia. Like we know it helps with mental clarity. Like we know all these things, and it hasn't been proven to cause breast cancer. So anyway,
Yeah.
But it does improve the quality of life for so many. And I again like commend you, Nikki, because GLPs, like in a microdosing, like there is such a stigma. But I tell people all the time, like there is times in my damn cycle that's, 20 days long. So, I have those 10 days or whatever that I'm
Mm.
not like worried about, oh, is it gonna bleed or not? But like that I'm ravenous, that I could eat out of my house at home, or I have like worse sugar cravings. And so maybe I do a dose of GLP during that time just to shut this up here. So again, I have control. And I
Yeah.
think like that's what the joy of GLPs, especially microdosing GLPs, which again, that brings up a whole nother thing, but it gives us control that we can individualize it for you. Maybe it's somebody that's just like, you know what, in the last, or I only have cravings during this time of the second part of my cycle. Guess what? We can give you some GLP to help control your brain so that we're not fighting that while you're also going through only having 20-day period, or, 20-day cycles. And so I
Mhm.
think that's the joy of individualized care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Never
love
stop.
that you're getting fired up. So,
Mhm.
and I I remember when HRT, hormone replacement therapy, first came up to me, I was like, "Whoa, that's bad," and because that stigma was out there until I
Mhm.
started researching it. And what really put me over the top to check into it was hearing like it can reduce osteoporosis and it can reduce the chances of having like dementia later. I was like, what? I mean, that was like, I remember listening to this podcast and it was like the brakes went on and I was like, wait a second, or even reduce certain types of cancer because the inflammation is less in your body, which we all know inflammation is the root of so many causes. But so once I started digging in and did my own research and got comfortable enough to go talk to Megan, and then she laid it out. She laid out what was so beautiful. She laid out everything that I had been learning that had been like what Dr. Mary Claire was saying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was like, yes, yes, yes. I was so excited.
Yeah.
And as far as the GLP-1 too, she had asked me about that right away. And again, I was like, no, no,
Mhm.
can't do that. And the hormones had helped me a lot. I seen drastic changes, but there was still like I could not, I was doing all the things. I could not lose that mid-weight, like right under my boobs, that middle of your belly. I never had that in my life. I was always a fluffy girl, but not that particular. And it was hard. It was painful. The bloating was uncomfortable. And once she explained to me how those hormones all work together and we added that in, she's like, I really think this is your key piece. This is like the key. We're going to put this in there and it's going to turn things. And it changed drastically because the inflammation in my body instantly went down, including in that little midsection. Um, my aches and pains went away, which meant my workouts got stronger, which is
Mhm.
something like it's a tool. Like I don't think people think I was working out before, but it was hard and it was miserable, and not
Yeah.
hard and miserable as in, yeah, work exercising isn't fun, as in
Yeah.
like it really was painful. And then I would work out and then I'd hurt so bad, my joints would hurt so bad that it was hard to like do it again the next day. And all that has changed by doing that, low dosing on the GLP-1. But I'm with Nikki. This is the first time I'm publicly talking about it.
Yeah. This is,
Um,
we both just came out of the closet
yeah, we
for
both just came
that.
out of the closet.
Here's what I was gonna say is that both of us, I think within a month of each other, started HRT, and for me, looking at my labs and things like that, I said to, I remember saying to Megan, I just want to try two at first, and she's like, I really think we should do three. And I'm like, well, the big T, the testosterone, I wasn't too sure about. I was like, how about we just wait and so we did several months just of progesterone and estrogen and adjusted that accordingly. I needed to come up in both of those, and I was going all month, whereas JennyLee was a little bit different. I won't steal her thunder, but just saying that I wanted to kind of see, I wanted to know what that felt like first, like go in and see, do I notice a difference just adding those things in? And then and then that's when I came back after I think 6 months or so, and I met with Megan, and she's like, I think, because I was like still working out. I was going to other classes and things like, trying to do all the things that I knew I was supposed to do, but I could not get any of the weight to budge. I could not get any weight to budge. And so it was the same thing for me. And somebody might look at me and say, whatever but here's the thing, it's in the eye of the beholder. It's if we're walking around, you don't know what's going on in someone's body. Like
About how
like
you
Jenny Lee,
feel.
it's how I felt. I just
Mhm.
felt meh. Like that,
Mhm.
I try to explain it to people. I did not feel like me. I felt like a shell walking around, and I was like, I know I just had the crappiest thing in my flippin' life happen, but I also know that I have to figure out how to keep going, right? I mean,
Mhm.
at that point, it was 3.5 years later. I'm like, I have to figure out how to continue to live, and I have to find some type of joy. And so that's where it was like, okay, then we added in a microdose of that. And it was very slow. It wasn't like I was looking
Mhm.
at it, jumping on the scale or anything like that, like, woohoo, size two, never going to be a size two. Nothing against people size two, never going to be a size two. Right. But then for me, that was still not all of it. It was taking care of a lot of things. But for me, the last key for me was the testosterone. Mine was like a zero point zero 0.01. And Megan's like, I still was tired and I still was dragging some. And I'm like, why is this not moving? And she's like, because we need to, because then I was working out, but at the end of the time, I was like, I'm still exhausted. I don't have, I get to the middle of the day and I was just like, I want to be done. And once we added that for me, whatever that is, that was my sweet sauce. And it's not to say it has to be forever. And I'll be the first one to say I'm one of the ones that does have breast cancer in my family. So those were things that we talked about. And for me, I was like, you know what? It increased it by, I think, 2% for me. And I'm like, you know what? Where I'm at right now, I'm willing to take that risk. But we
Mhm.
went through all of that. And I go back, I just want to share with JennyLee. I mean, there's other
Stop you
people.
a second and interrupt though.
Yes.
So when you talk about increasing by 2%, so the leading cause of menopausal death in women is heart disease. And so when we talk 2% of going up in breast cancer, when your risk of heart disease being postmenopausal and not having hormones is way higher than that. So your chance of death related to heart disease is so
Thank
much
you.
more than that breast cancer. Sorry,
No,
interruption.
and that's
No, it's
exactly,
great.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly what Megan talked to me about. She's like, if you do get it, it's a less likely chance to die from it, and it's not going to, so we talked through all of that because I was like, and here's another transparency. I have heart condition,
Mhm.
it's two of them. One got cured by a surgery and the other one not significant, but we talked through all of those things, right? And just even like what I said earlier about allowing people to kind of get a window into my brain of how I was thinking about myself, how I was feeling, that I just did not feel like me. And I said not so long ago, I feel probably about 95%. And I run into Megan's and I was like, you know what? We often will say, well, I am not expecting 100%. And I said, why in the hell are we not? Why are we
Right.
not asking for 100%? Because that's ridiculous. I'm like, other people or other things, we have no problem. Why can't we feel good?
Yep.
Why, why do we think we have to be the martyr and just feel like SHIT all the time? We don't. We
And she
don't.
told,
And
yeah.
go ahead. I just,
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I know.
I
I get
really
all
wanted
wound
to
up.
say, I wanted to say this, that JennyLee and other people I know in my life, I have watched them work out to like fiends, like work out, I mean, pouring sweat. They would restrict their diets. They would do all these things to the point of like only eating. I mean, so significant and you'd get some weight off, but then it would come back on. And, I think that a lot of that was the hormones and things like that. And I'm just like, I go back to the GLP-1s of that these things are just not new. They've been around. That was something else that Megan and I talked about, that these have been around for quite some time. It's just that other people outside of this group of docs really talked about it, and it was just like kind of like the best kept secret, and like you just said, using it in different ways and things like that. I mean, that's how so many different, I'll use like one of them is like clonidine. It's a heart medicine. But when I was working as a school psychologist for all those years, how many times people used it for kids for ADHD? I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying like it took somebody else to say, hey, let's look at it for something else as to why we could use this. And I'm just like, people people have been dying. And what I mean by that is that like dying because of the things that have been caused from other health issues. And I'm not saying everything is going to be fixed by a GLP-1. That's not what I'm saying, is that, you know what? if you're not feeling well, if you're feeling bad, you don't feel like yourself, whatever it is, find somebody like you, Cass, because it and if you find you go to somebody and you don't click, then go to the next person. There's nothing that says that you have to stay with this person, but you have to find the person that clicks with you, that you feel like they understand you, that they listened. Because that's what I felt with Megan. Not that I didn't, you weren't there yet. You were doing other things at that time. Just saying that find the person that you click with. And because it's not all in your head. And I think that's the most beautiful thing that's coming out of the Black label going off, is that us women are so powerful. We are now having the conversations. We're in rooms that we weren't before, and people are finally speaking up and saying this is not okay, that we can do better. And now that we know better, we have to do better. And so
And
that's the exciting part of this.
and I want women to start recognizing this. Like we'd say perimenopause starts in your early 30s or 35-ish, right? Is that around 35?
Yeah.
I look back now and I'm like, man, if I had like knew more, and if I hadn't been so scared of trying these things, like I could have had years back that I would have felt better. It's like I just felt awful. And I loved what you said earlier. Why are we not talking about something that is reducing all these other effects, like the cardiovascular one, is that's
Mhm.
huge. Like my body was under so much stress during that time. I can't even imagine, like I was aging very quickly internally. Like I could literally feel that. I was sick all the time too. Like Nikki can attest to that. I was sick all the time, like colds and flus. And it was like I could just constantly, where all of that has improved so drastically, and we could talk for hours and hours about it for sure. But I
Well,
love that you
yeah,
are bringing this to the table, and obviously people need it because, yeah, you're flourishing.
yeah, yeah. I think the other thing is that for I think all three of us on here have tried different things. It wasn't like that was our first
Oh,
thing we
yes.
went to. I'm thinking about all the different people I went to see about different things of like, but like Cassie said in the beginning, is that when we're going to so many different people, they don't know all the stories. So when we finally have that one person and then we open up with all the stories, now you're really seeing the full person. It's great to have specialties, right? I get that. But it's that now, okay, so now I'm really seeing the whole person. And I think that's the beauty of where we're at now, is that you're allowing people to come in and show you all of them. And you may not, no, nobody's expecting you to have all the answers. But I always say you don't need to know all the answers, but it's like who to go to, right? Who
Yeah.
can if you go past what I have for you, then here's this next level, or go to this person. And I didn't once hear you say I'm not against traditional medicine, right? There's definitely
Mhm.
places and times for that. But there are a lot of us that like traditional medicine, that's what both of us were doing for the longest time, doing a lot of those different things. And even some of the more homeopathic, and we still were struggling with, because we weren't looking at the whole thing. And that's a whole nother conversation of like going into the gut, and like I mean, both of us have worked really hard at trying to listen to our gut. I mean, I think we're probably we're in the best health that we have been in so, so long with our gut health. And we know that now how that just goes in so many different places, which the GLP-1 helps us just start to. I think there's so many other things that are going on. We don't realize the center of the epicenter of all the things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think back in my life of all of, and yeah, I think that there's some amazing things happening. So, well, I
Can
think that go ahead, Jenny Lee, go
Well,
ahead.
I was just going to ask Cassie to talk a little bit on being patient too. That was the best advice that Megan ever gave me, was to be patient as we started working on these things, because you're not going to go in at 40 and be on the same thing that you are at 50. And like Nikki talking about testosterone. So I was on estrogen and progesterone now for almost a year and a half. And then I just my last labs have now shown that I need to add testosterone. I didn't need that a year and a half ago. And so I told her, I was like, I'm willing to be patient because I feel like crap. Like I've obviously will be patient if it pays off, which it did slowly, little at a time. And I wanted to reiterate, the same thing Nikki said earlier about we can be at 100%, because I told Megan the same thing. I was like, well, these 2 weeks I'm feeling a lot better. These other two I'm dragging, but I suppose that's how it is. She's like, it doesn't have to be how it is. She's like, you can
Mhm.
feel good all month long, and that's okay. We adjust from there. But can you talk a little bit about that? Just about that being patient and not expecting a one time, like, we're going to come see you and it's going to be wonderful for the rest of the year, for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I say that about everything. I mean, whether it's gut health, whether it's GLPs, whether it's hormones, like if we are working on changing, really like turning your body around and optimizing it. Like it's not a magic pill. It doesn't happen overnight. We don't know your body compared to the next in metabolism, and your dosing is going to be completely different maybe than the next person just because of how you absorb it, how you do with it. So I always say, like, the name of the game is slow and steady because we don't honestly know until we try it. I mean, we have recommended dosing, right? But what works for you compared to what works for Nikki may be completely different.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and
Exactly.
we both have experienced that. I'll just give an example is like my estrogen patch. The pharmacy gave me a different one for a while, and I was like, all of a sudden I started, or not all of a sudden, I noticed in like the couple months, I was like, gosh, like I said a few things. I think I might have even told you one of the things I said, and I said it in front of my sister, and I was like, ooh, that was that like I don't know where that came from. It was not my body.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be it's the same amount, right? It's just a different brand, but whatever adhesive or however my body was taking it in from that company, I was definitely feeling different. I mean, it wasn't like at first I didn't notice it. I just thought I was like having an off day. And then I was like, yeah, that's definitely so I reached out to Megan. I'm like, could this be a possibility? And she's like, oh yes, that can. So that's again, I think where we go back to we downplay like it just must be me, right?
Yeah.
That I shouldn't ask for more than what I already have. I should just be grateful for, the 70% that I'm at right now. I shouldn't ask for anything more because, it was so bad before. I'll just settle. I'm like, who said we had to settle?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has said that we have to settle. And I think then I just think about the long term. Like I think the same thing. I was just having this conversation with Patty when I was getting my hair done today. I was like, I just realized I'm going to be turning 50. My grandmother just had her 94th birthday. And I mean, she broke her fibia 2 years ago. And, usually for people that are in those older ages, that means something's probably not great going to happen. And she has come back. And I mean, I still think she's doing pretty darn good. I mean, her brain, and it just goes to show you, like you said, we're living longer than our counterparts. And so it's that I don't want to be in a space where things are not going well.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a place where I'm not able to take care of my body. I want these two to be matching as
Yeah.
best as possible.
You
So,
don't want to just be alive, you want to live.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know, Miss Cassie, we could talk to you all day, and I know you have patience, so we should
Did
probably
you
let
hear
you go.
that? Knock, knock, knock on the door.
That's okay. We can always use a nudge. That's all right. So I'm gonna let Jenny Lee tell us where you can find us. But thank you so much, Miss Cassie,
Yeah.
for joining
Thank
us
you
today
guys.
and sharing. And we'll leave your contact information and stuff like that. If people want to get a hold of you, how to do that. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. I also want to say, like, kudos to you guys because, and I think, like, Nikki, my last final hurrah is, and Nikki kind of touched base on this a little bit, but be an advocate for yourself because nobody else will be. And I think both of you kind of said that, like, I wasn't feeling the best, and having that, be able to have a relationship with that provider that you can be open and be like, look, like, I know you're trying your best too, and we're working as a team here. This isn't a like, no, you do this, and if you don't do this, it's not going to work. Like, be an advocate and be honest and have that, and find that provider, like Nikki said, like, that you can develop that relationship with. But I ultimately tell everybody, like, you are your own advocate, and if you don't advocate for yourself, nobody else will.
Yep.
I
And
love that.
listen to your body and speak up. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you for being here, Cassie. This was
Thank you
so
guys,
great.
and thank you guys so fun for having me. It was so
Yeah.
fun.
It was so
Yes.
fun. Thank you so much. And so yes, we're here with the Real Joy Project. Check out the description to get some information. We can give some links and to some of the things we talked to today, or how to reach out to Cassie's office. And make sure to subscribe and like so that you don't miss any of our videos. And we will see you next time.
Bye, guys. Thank you.